something first. La bala, the bullet, settles everything.
Miss Bala.
And in answer to the question I asked yesterday, no, I did not see the original Miss Bala. I thought I did. I thought I covered it on the show, but I couldn't find it. And then I realized that, no, I never talked about this. So I came into this relatively unscathed. So welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We've got the first 2 weekends of February 2019. Only one movie on February 1st, and the big stuff is on the weekend after the Super Bowl. Which, yeah, of course it's going to be, because on Super Bowl weekend, who is going to go see the movies when they can go watch one of the most boring Super Bowls of all time? No, really. New England and Los Angeles. You know, this was the Super Bowl where Los Angeles got the benefit of the refs in the championship game, and then they didn't show up in the Super Bowl and lost it 10-3 to New England. Remember that game? I certainly do. It was a boring-ass game, one of the worst Super Bowls ever. But, it makes sense that we got a movie like Miss Bala out there, because, yeah, it's pretty forgettable, too. So Gina Rodriguez stars as Gloria, who finds a power she never knew she had when she is drawn into a dangerous world of cross-border crime. Surviving will require all of her cunning, inventiveness, and strength based on the Mexican-language film, which starred Stephanie Sigmund from Annabelle Creation and the SWAT remake on CBS. And, I do remember the original film when they were promoting it, but I never saw it, so that should probably tell you that. That should tell you that before, but, yeah, overall, this one is fine, I guess. I mean, I say it's a bad movie at the beginning, but it's really not. It's just forgettable. I mean, it's a movie where it's better than Proud Mary was. Proud Mary was just a bland assassin film. The big difference between that and this movie is that there is at least some effort being put in here. For the most part. Not enough to make it a great film, but it's enough to make it a passable film at least. I like Gina Rodriguez. I think Gina Rodriguez is great. I think she's a terrific actress coming out of Jane the Virgin. And, you know, this is coming 5 years after that. And she's proven her worth outside the comedic world. She was great in Annihilation last year. She had some good roles in Smallfoot and Deepwater Horizon. And she's easily the best thing about the movie. She gives a good performance and proves that she can be a good action heroine if given a good script to work with. And I mean, she's perfectly fine in this. The action is mixed. Sometimes it can look pretty good, but most of the time it's kind of bland and forgettable. The script is also kind of that too. They try to throw a couple twists in there and turns to make it work out and stand out on its own, but there's never enough well thought out processing in this that makes it worth it in the end. You can kind of tell where it's going to go from that point forward. I really do think Sony was trying to do something kind of like a female action heroine franchise, kind of like a gender swap of the El Mariachi series, which would be the second time this decade they tried to do that, with Zoe Saldana's Colombiana being the first one, which was a mess of a film in so many ways. And as far as this film goes, I don't think they're off to a good start with that turning this into a franchise. And it wasn't a hit overall, so yeah, that should probably tell you that, yeah, it wasn't that way. But the biggest problem is in the direction. Catherine Hardwicke directed this. You know, this director started her career off so promisingly with stuff like 13 and Lords of Dogtown, but then there was Twilight and then Red Riding Hood, and I don't think she can direct acting overall. I wouldn't have been surprised if they wanted Catherine Bigelow, but didn't know how to spell her name, so they confused it with Catherine Hardwicke. I mean, that's how it really felt like, because it really did feel like it could have gotten Catherine Hardwicke to do, not Catherine Bigelow direct this, not Catherine Hardwicke. I can't even get the names right. Also, you can't really do a movie like this with the PG-13 rating. I know Taken was PG-13, and that was a great film, but let's be honest, most PG-13 action films like this never turn out great, and Taken was one of those examples where it actually did work. But despite its flaws, I don't hate it. It's a serviceable, passable film that mostly gets by on the good performance by Gina Rodriguez. Most of it is predictable, cliched, riddled action, and it's a decent movie overall. Nothing incredible. The script could have used a better work overall. Some of the action could have been a whole lot better. As it is, it's a movie you're going to forget about almost immediately, just like I did. I saw it, I didn't hate it, but I have no intentions of ever going back to it anytime soon, So there you go. That's the big release of Super Bowl weekend. Now let's get to the movies you really want to see, or at least that's what the studios were hoping for, especially with our first movie, The Lego Movie 2, the second part.
Slipping on his heel on the way out. You gon' bruise your butt. The Lego Movie 2, rated PG. You can experience it in IMAX.
So yeah, it finally took us 5 years to get the Lego Movie sequel that we've been dying for. Or at least I was. Most people were just kind of like, are we doing another Lego movie at this point? And I think their big mistake was releasing so many Lego films in the span of 5 years. I mean, there's franchise fatigue, and it's definitely out there. We're seeing it with stuff like Star Wars and the Minions right now. But it doesn't mean the movies are terrible. It's just that there is a demand out there that people want to see a wait between these films. But But a Lego Movie 2, I think, had the mismanagement of having so many Lego movies come out in between the first film and the second film. It's been 5 years since everything was awesome, and the citizens are facing a new threat. Lego Duplo invaders from outer space wrecking everything faster than they can rebuild. Anyone who knows me knows that I love the Lego Movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a movie that I've talked to death about. And I will even go as far as to say I like the Lego spin-off movies. I like them all. I like the Lego Batman movie a lot. I like the Lego Ninjago movie, even though a lot of people hated that one. So my expectations with this were going into this very strong. And for the most part, I did get what I asked for. I really did enjoy the film overall. I wasn't going into it expecting this to be anywhere near the first movie in particular, but I did get everything I wanted and then some in here. It's a movie that's about as enjoyable as the first film, and it does just that. And I'll admit, the first act of the film does start off really slow. Like, not that it isn't funny or creative, despite starting the film right from the end of the last film, which I think is a great move. The movie really begins to pick up once we get into the Sistar system, because they add the sister into this, who's played by Brooklyn Prince from the Florida Project. We meet the new characters from General Mayhem, voiced incredibly well by Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Queen Watanabe, played by Tiffany Haddish, and maybe probably her best role yet. I mean, she was great in this. Added a lot of the original voice cast from the first film, and once again, the voice work is top-notch. And the music was really good, too. There were more songs than I thought there would be in this, which is weird. It's the second Warner Animation Group movie that I've seen where they've not sold you on the soundtrack overall. They haven't sold you on the music. It's just selling the film on its own. Smallfoot was like that too, except Smallfoot was really good. Not to say that this is bad either. It's just like it felt weird that you've had two back-to-back movies from Warner Animation where they don't sell you on the fact that it's a musical, which, I mean, technically it isn't, but there's just as many songs in this than there was in Smallfoot. And for the most part, the songs are really good. So you got to give them credit where credit's due there. The comedy is still just as strong, although there are a lot of obvious jokes that are unfunny and do lag on screen, and you can tell that this definitely was missing Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who were currently working on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and it's starting to show more and more with each new film. But again, most of it is pretty good here. I did like the fact that they did make fun of Chris Pratt being the Chris Pratt's newfound fame as an action star with Jurassic World and the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, having him playing Rex Dangervest, and I will say that the twist with him is kind of like, is really kind of corny, because for one thing, Futurama did it, so they did it in Bender's Big Score, so that should give you an idea of what the twist is in that. But the morals and the message of the film are still good, even though they're not as strong as they were at the end of the first film. The heart is still there, and it's good to know that these films can still have the message and moral that works very well. It doesn't, unfortunately, reach the tiers of great animated sequels like the Kung Fu Panda sequels or the Toy Story sequels or How to Train Your Dragons, the sequels to that. I'd put this on the same level as Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. Not as great as the first film, but still really good enough to recommend it, which coincidentally was also a sequel to a Phil Lord and Chris Miller directed action movie. Animated movie, I should say, not an action movie. But the animation is still great, the voice work is still great, the comedy is still good, and the Lego Movie franchise still has life to it. My nose has been itching for the last couple of hours now. I don't know what that is, but that's why I'm doing that here. I'm not like snorting cocaine or anything like that, because yeah, YouTube will not allow that. But plus I don't do drugs. Okay, so anyway, just wanted to let you know what was going on there. But anyway, that's the Lego Movie 2, the second part. So let's go ahead and move on to one of the big surprises of the weekend, honestly. It's the gender-swapped remake of What Men Want. This time, What Women Want, it's What Men Want. See, I can't even get the titles correct.
Your sex life.
It's like she read my mind.
How was that?
Need some electrolytes. You yesterday?
No.
I got flavors. What Men Want. Rated R.
I love how Tracy Morgan is like one of the big selling points of the movie, when if you watch the film, he isn't really in it all that much. I mean, he's in it, but not as much as they're making him out to be. But like I said, this is a gender-swapped reboot of What Women Want, which starred Mel Gibson as a swinger who ends up, he ends up having a hairdryer fall into the shower with him, which should kill him, but he's still alive, and now he can hear what women think, and eventually at the end he bags Helen Hunt. But in this movie, you have Taraji P. Henson as a successful sports agent who's constantly boxed out by her male colleagues. When Allie is passed up for a well-deserved promotion, she questions what more she needs to do to succeed in the man's world, until she gains the ability to hear men's thoughts, and she does so by drinking this tea from a psychic played by Erykah Badu, which I'll get to her in a second, because she was a blast in this. And with her newfound power, Allie looks to outsmart her colleagues as she races to sign the next basketball superstar, but the length she'll have to go to will put her relationship with her best friends and a potential new love interest to the test. But the length she has to go to will put her relationship with her best friends and a potential new love interest to the test. I'm having trouble reading this right here. It's literally on the screen, and yet I can't figure out what it says. Like, I'm an idiot. I'm plain and simple, but I mean, this is about on par with What Women Want, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was a fun movie, and a lot of it, what worked in that movie, works in here. The comedy is very good. You also have some bad comedy, and a generic but mostly well-done story. Cliches that are annoying, but could have been so much worse, and great performances from the leading actors. I mean, Taraji P. Henson is great to watch in this movie. I mean, like I said, even in a bad movie like Proud Mary, she will give 110%. And here, she's great. This is the sexiest I've ever seen her in a movie. I mean, not only that, she's funny, she's great in this, and the rest of the cast is really great, too. You got a cast that also includes Wendy McClendon-Covey from Reno 911 and the Goldbergs, Josh Brenner, Pete Davidson, Aldous Hodge, Tamala Jones, Phoebe Robinson, Max Greenfield, Jason Jones, Kellum Lutz, Brian Bosworth, Richard Roundtree, Devontae Freeman, Carl Anthony Towns, Lisa Leslie, Shaq, Grant Hill, Mark Cuban. And like I said, Tracy Morgan is also in this. He's good at kind of playing a LeVar Ball-esque type of character with his son about to be drafted highly in the NBA draft. But for some reason, like I said, he's all over the poster and the marketing to think that he has a big role in this movie. And he really is not. He's only in it for about half the movie, honestly. But like I said, the funniest character in the entire movie is Erykah Badu playing the psychic's sister. Like, she just has some of the funniest and enjoyable moments in the movie. And her character's the centerpiece of how Henson gets these powers to hear men's inner thoughts. Like I said, she drinks this tea that she gives her, and it leads to a lot of good comedic hijinks. The comedy can be funny too, but then there are obvious jokes that fall apart, and some of them fall apart because they aren't right. Like, you can tell that the people who made this movie have no idea what actually happened in the years past because, you know, one of the parts of the movie has one of the agents talking about getting Mitchell Trubisky, the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Which he wasn't. He was the 2nd overall pick. And yeah, Chicago Bears fans are still wondering what the hell you guys were thinking by moving so high up to get him. They traded up to get Trubisky too. And I'm saying this as somebody who had Trubisky on their football team. Yeah, that was not worth moving up a spot to go get him. Like, he would have fallen to you. Plus, keep in mind, this was also the same draft that had Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and they decided not to draft them, so... Anyway, and then they just throw in buzzwords and phrases like, you know, Me Too, locker room talk, boys club, like, you know, way to date stamp the movie, man. Just like, at least the first movie didn't do that. The story is about as predictable and cliched you get. You get all the moments in here that you expect to see. The liar reveal, the misunderstanding, they're here, but they're not as annoying as they could have been, so I have to give them credit for that. And like I said, this is about on par with What Women Want. It's a fun movie. It does give you what you want to see in a film like this. And Taraji P. Henson's great. The comedy is really good. Great characters to work with. If you're looking for a really solid romantic comedy, this is definitely one to check out if you haven't seen it. It's really worth it. If you love What Women Want, you're going to love What Men Want. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. It's Liam Neeson back on the big screen once again, this time starring in Cold Pursuit.
Aren't you gonna ask where I've been? Cold Pursuit, rated R, only in theaters February 8th.
I just got chased by a velociraptor. I don't want to hear about your day, Liam Neeson. That's Laura Dern, by the way, of course, Jurassic Park. But, yeah, this is actually more of a comedy than you think it would be. I know it's sold as like, they say it on here, it's an action thriller, but it is, but there is definitely a lot more comedic elements to it, which does kind of make this stand out on its own. So in this movie, you have a vengeful snowplow driver, played by Liam Neeson, who starts killing the members of a drug cartel following the murder of his son. I mean, just that idea, just that premise alone. A vengeful snowplow driver, played by Liam Neeson. Like, is he supposed to be Mr. Plow? Like, is this supposed to be the Mr. Plow movie? Which, coincidentally, by the time of recording this, I had already done the Mr. Plow episode for September coming up next month. But yeah, overall, this movie is very much... It's a Liam Neeson movie, but it's also got those comedic elements to it that does kind of make it stand out on its own. Like, it does give the movie an edge over something like The Commuter the year before, or some of these lackluster Liam Neeson vehicles he's made since then with Briarcliff Entertainment. Like, this doesn't feel like that type of a film in particular. This feels like a film that is trying to be a little bit different overall. In fact, they got the same person who made the original that this is based off of, In Order of Disappearance. This is basically a remake of that film, which was from Norwegia. But, yeah, this movie isn't... I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely a movie that could have been a whole lot worse. It could have been another generic action movie starring Liam Neeson, but there is at least some effort being put into it in terms of the idea, the execution, and just how it's presented. I won't say it's a good movie, but I think it's definitely a much better movie than you would expect it to be. Not the best overall, but certainly much better than you would let it be onto. But yeah, overall, pretty good film. So far, we haven't had a completely terrible weekend, but that means that the last film's probably going to be really shitty, isn't it? And wouldn't you know it, it's a lame horror movie, and a horror movie that basically, like I said, like I've said before, like, this is the type of movie where everything that happens is one of those things where it's just like, you people are so stupid, and I'll show you what I mean. Here's the scene that really, like, when you see it, any normal person would have been like, okay, I'm going to do something completely different. But no, not this movie. No. Here's what they do.
Miles, what's wrong?
Mommy, I'm scared.
Come here, babe.
You dumb, stupid bitch. Like, how many times do we have to tell you about this type of thing? It's just like, you cannot be this stupid. If you are walking in a dark hallway, here's what you do. Turn the lights on, or just leave. Like, get out of the house, because clearly something is wrong if you can't figure this out. Like, but no, this woman is so stupid in this movie that she's just like, oh, come here, honey, and then, like, yeah, you deserve to have what happens to you at that point. Like, this movie is that type of a film where it does not give two shits about your intelligence, and it doesn't even care if it's entertaining you or not. Like, I'm just grateful that we live in a time where we don't have to have these type of horror movies out around anymore. We still get them every once in a while, but horror movies have definitely been much more higher. It's like there's definitely more effort being put into the more recent crop of horror films. But before COVID, though, this was yeah, this is another one of those movies you've seen done to death before. So stop me if you've heard this, because this is such a revolutionary idea. A child whose disturbing behavior signals that an evil, possible supernatural being has taken control of The Omen. It's The Omen. It's every creepy kid horror movie you've ever seen in your life, except, oh, we've got the chick from Orange is the New Black. We've got Combe Fiore. Congratulations, you still made a shitty movie. Yeah, the movie is terrible. The movie is absolutely awful. It's a bad film. I don't even need to tell you more about it, because you've seen this movie done to death before. It's never going to be a movie where you think it's going to do something different or new. And like I said, that stupid scene in that trailer should have been the sign to stay away from this movie, which most audiences were smart enough to stay away for. But yeah, it's a bad movie. And yeah, you could tell it was made on the cheap. You could tell it was a movie that no thought went into it whatsoever. What a terrible movie. What an awful film. And like I said, I really don't need to say anything more about that. That scene alone should have been your warning sign to stay away from this movie, which most of you probably did, so good for you. Apparently you're smart enough than this fucking movie is. The Prodigy. Which, by the way, I think it's funny that a movie is called The Prodigy, and yet everyone in it is fucking stupid, So anyway, with all that said, that's going to wrap up this episode of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, it's another double feature weekend, because we have the opposite of this weekend, where 3 big movies are coming out this weekend. Actually 4 if you want to count the limited release. That will get a wider release the following week. But we got 4 new releases on the next weekend, Valentine's weekend. But then there's only 1 big new release the following weekend. So another weekend where we're going to combine 2 for 1. So we have Robert Rodriguez teaming up with James Cameron for Alito Battle Angel. We have Rebel Wilson starring in the romantic comedy Isn't It Romantic, which is a parody of romantic comedies from the director of Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas. We have the sequel Happy Death Day to You, which didn't do anywhere near as good as the original Happy Death Day was box office wise, but was it a good film? We'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll also take a look at Fighting With My Family, which, yeah, it's a WWE movie, and it's got Florence Pugh and also Dwayne Johnson and Vince Vaughn, but then again, it's a WWE movie, so be prepared for not many clips to be shown, because as you know from past videos, I've talked about how the WWE is so goddamn trigger happy on that copyright claim thing, where they don't just give you a copyright claim, they will block your video if it's for any WWE product out there. So I'm going to try to get something out of this, so bear with me on that one. But then the following weekend, we have the conclusion of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. So we'll take a look at that. So 5 films overall to look at. Alita Battle Angel, Isn't It Romantic? What was the third one? Happy Death Day to You, Fighting With My Family, and How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. So 5 movies overall. Kind of like what we had this week, so... But anyway, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care. Bye.